Imagine you're standing on a public sidewalk, holding your phone, recording what's unfolding in front of you. Everything feels under control until someone steps toward you with authority and tells you to stop recording immediately. In that moment, pressure rises fast. Your instinct might be to explain yourself, argue your rights, or even apologize just to diffuse the situation. But what happens next isn't determined by what they say. It's determined by how you respond. Because in these encounters, recording itself is rarely the problem. The real risk begins the moment you start talking. One wrong sentence, one emotional reaction, or one poorly chosen word can be interpreted as interference, obstruction, or non-compliance. Suddenly, the person documenting the situation becomes part of the situation, and that's exactly what you want to avoid. There is a simple, controlled way to handle this moment that protects you while allowing you to continue recording. It starts with staying calm and delivering a clear, composed statement that establishes your position without escalating tension. The goal is to sound neutral, predictable, and non-threatening, because the way you present yourself shapes how the entire interaction unfolds. The foundation of handling any encounter like this comes down to a few consistent principles. Being in a public place, maintaining a safe distance, avoiding interference, and keeping your tone calm are the pillars that support your position. When all four are present, you significantly reduce the chances of the situation turning against you. What many people don't realize is how quickly emotion can change perception. The moment your voice raises, your tone sharpens, or your body language becomes reactive, the narrative shifts. You may feel justified, but from the outside, it can be interpreted as confrontation. And once that perception takes hold, everything you do is viewed through that lens. One of the most common mistakes people make in these situations is apologizing. It may seem harmless, even polite, but apologies can be interpreted in ways you didn't intend. They can be seen as an acknowledgement that you were doing something wrong or that you were interfering. Instead of creating safety, they can create vulnerability. A stronger approach is to clearly and calmly state what you are doing in a neutral way. Position yourself as an observer, not a participant. When your words consistently reinforce that you are documenting from a safe distance and not interfering, you establish a clear boundary that is difficult to challenge without escalation. Distance plays a critical role in maintaining that boundary. The closer you are, the easier it is for your presence to be framed as interference. A simple rule to follow is that if you are within arm's reach of the situation, you are too close. Stepping back creates space, and that space protects you. Modern devices allow you to capture detail without being physically near, so there is no advantage in pushing that limit. If you are asked to move back, the smartest move is to comply while continuing to record. This is not about agreeing with the request. It is about preserving your ability to keep documenting. Arguing about distance in the moment risks turning a manageable situation into a confrontational one, and that shift rarely works in your favor. Another mistake that can weaken your position is asking for permission. When you ask if it is okay to record, you unintentionally give the other person authority over something that does not require their approval. It changes the dynamic and places you in a position where a simple no can create unnecessary conflict. Instead, stating your presence and your activity as a matter of fact keeps the interaction grounded. You are not seeking approval. You are describing what you are doing. This approach removes uncertainty and reinforces that you are acting within your space without challenging or provoking. Location awareness is equally important. Public spaces offer a level of protection that private property does not. If you find yourself on private property and are asked to leave, the best decision is to step off that property and continue from a public area. This small adjustment can prevent a situation from escalating into something entirely avoidable. Another trap people fall into is trying to assert their knowledge in a confrontational way. Saying things that signal frustration or defiance may feel empowering in the moment, but they rarely produce positive outcomes. Encounters like these are not about proving a point, they are about maintaining control. A more effective strategy is to ask simple, direct questions that clarify your status. This creates a clear structure for the interaction. If you are free to leave, you create distance and continue documenting from a safer position. If you are not free to leave, your role shifts, and your focus should be on protecting yourself rather than continuing the interaction. Repetition becomes a powerful tool here. When faced with repeated questions or attempts to draw you into conversation, returning to the same calm, consistent response prevents the situation from expanding. It keeps the interaction contained and avoids giving away information that could complicate things later. There may also be moments when attention shifts toward you more directly. Questions about your identity, your background, or your intentions may come up. It is important to remember that you are not required to engage in extended conversation in these moments. Keeping your responses minimal and focused protects you from saying something that could be misinterpreted. If the situation intensifies and your belongings become a point of focus, maintaining composure is critical. Reacting physically or emotionally can escalate things very quickly. Clear verbal statements that establish your position without resistance are far more effective than any attempt to physically control the situation. Technology can also play a role in protecting your work. Ensuring that recordings are backed up or transmitted in real time adds a layer of security that does not rely on the physical device alone. This preparation can make a significant difference if the situation becomes unpredictable. When everything is brought together, the pattern becomes clear. The goal is not to challenge or confront, but to remain steady and controlled. Each decision you make should reduce tension, not increase it. Each word you choose should clarify your position, not complicate it. The people who handle these situations best are not the ones who speak the most or react the fastest. They are the ones who stay composed, who understand the importance of consistency, and who recognize that the interaction is temporary. Their focus is not on winning the moment, but on avoiding mistakes that could follow them long after it ends. Preparation is what makes that level of control possible. Thinking through these scenarios ahead of time removes uncertainty and replaces it with confidence. When you already know how you will respond, the situation feels less overwhelming and more manageable. There is a difference between reacting and responding. Reaction is driven by emotion, while response is guided by intention. In these encounters, that difference can determine whether things remain calm or escalate quickly. Every situation will have its own variables, but the underlying approach remains the same. Stay calm, keep your distance, avoid unnecessary conversation, and use clear, consistent language. These principles create a framework that works across a wide range of scenarios. As you think about this, consider how easily small mistakes can happen when you are unprepared. They are not the result of bad judgment, but of natural human reactions under stress. That is why understanding these patterns ahead of time is so important. If you take one thing away from this, let it be this. Control comes from simplicity. The fewer variables you introduce, the easier it is to manage the situation. Clear words, calm actions, and steady behavior create an environment where escalation becomes less likely. If this gave you a new perspective on how quickly situations like this can shift, then you are already better prepared than most. Awareness is the first step, and applying that awareness in real moments is what truly makes the difference. There is always more to learn about handling real-world encounters, and building that understanding over time strengthens your ability to stay composed when it matters most. If you found this helpful, take a moment to reflect on how these principles apply in everyday situations and how small adjustments can lead to better outcomes. And if this kind of practical guidance is something you want more of, stay connected, keep learning, and continue sharpening your awareness, because the way you handle these moments can shape everything that comes after.